Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Engagement Designer demo series. In the last episode, we talked about opening Engagement Designer for the first time, as well as looking through each one of the toolbars at the top, the palette to the left, and the zoom view. In this episode, we're going to talk about the difference between tasks, nodes, and gateways. Tasks are anything that have an input and output mapping that get run throughout a workflow. Tasks here are listed in one of these folders, such as Notification or Zang, where we can then click and drag in a task and drop it onto our canvas. Every task looks like a rounded square and will have, like I said, an input and output mapping, which we will go over later. A node is a rounded, actually it's a circle, I shouldn't say rounded, is a circle, and nodes are usually events or anything tied to events. So like I said, we have the start node, we also have the end node, and we have the terminate node. The difference between the end node and the terminate node comes down to whether or not we have multiple branches within our workflow. The end node will only terminate the single branch of a workflow, whereas the terminate node will terminate all branches of a workflow. It's important to know the difference because every workflow will have at least one branch, but when workflows have multiple branches or parallel branches running at the same time, end nodes will only end the single branch and terminate nodes will terminate all branches. Gateways are a special case and they look like a rhombus. Right here in this example we have an exclusive gateway, we have an inclusive gateway, and we have a parallel gateway, which I've dragged in here. The difference between these three gateways is the exclusive gateway works like a case switch, where it's going to run down simple use cases or conditions and match to a single condition. Once a condition is met down an exclusive gateway, it will run down that branch of the workflow and continue down that branch that the condition was met. It will not run down any other branches. An inclusive gateway works to match all conditions that apply. So if it has more than one condition line or condition branch matched off the inclusive gateway, it will run down every single one of those conditions that apply. So you could have more than one branch run based on multiple conditions, and we'll go through defining conditions later. A parallel gateway will actually split a running workflow branch coming into it into multiple branches, so that you can have multiple branches running in parallel. It's important to know with the parallel gateways that you can have multiple branches running and terminate all branches based on a terminate node. Back to events, there are other events called intermediate and boundaries. An intermediate event, like this intermediate timer event, will do things such as do a wait based on a specific defined amount of time. In this case, we're going by milliseconds. So you could have a branch of a workflow coming into the intermediate timer, have that timer wait a specific amount of time before continuing the branch of that workflow. Boundary events are events that tie to nodes. Boundary events are ones that you would then drag in and drop on top of a node so that it is now attached to that node. For this example, we have a message boundary event and an error boundary event tied to this node right here. And what will happen is, if this node were to error out, it would actually take down a separate path down the error boundary event versus going down the original path of the defined node there. Important distinctions here are that events can be tied to individual nodes like this, or boundary nodes where they specifically tie themselves to a node. That's the difference between tasks, nodes, and gateways. This is just a quick example to show the distinction between each one of those as we go through the Engagement Designer development process. In the next episode, we're going to go through creating a workflow using input and output mapping of a task.